Alright, NeoFPS, the best FPS controller on the market. NWH physics, the best vehicle controller on the market. It even has this wonderful military-like vehicle. We can take it out for a drive, get to where we want to be, get out, and start fighting. So how do you get the two to work together? Let's find out. So here we are, we have a brand new project. I have a scene that I'm going to work in, but there's nothing in here, not even a camera, not even a light. Here we've got NeoFPS and NWH. Don't worry about full screen, it's a utility that I use. When you imported NWH, it will have asked you if you wanted to enable the new input system, and you either chose yes or no. Well, whichever answer you gave was the wrong answer. You actually need them both because NeoFPS does not yet use the new input system. So what you do is you go to project settings, and in project settings you select player, and then you scroll down and you find this bit here, active input handler, where you can select the old, the new, or both. You're going to need to select both until NeoFPS implements the new one. It is on the roadmap, not sure when it's going to come. It doesn't really matter, setting it to both is just fine. Alright, so let's get going on how we do this. Let's go into the NWH Vehicle Physics 2. We'll go into the Demos folder, we'll go to the Scenes, we'll go to the Racetrack. We'll copy the Racetrack scene in. If you know NWH, you know this scene. So walk over to a vehicle, hit V, and you can drive. Simple as that. Okay, all good. Let's jump out the vehicle, it carries on rolling for a short while, and we're good to go. Now, we don't want to use their scene because we are always going to work in our own scene. So we're going to go over here and we're going to copy everything except the rigid body FPS controller because our controller is going to be NeoFPS. Once you've done that, you can remove this scene. Don't save it because you don't want to save a broken scene. And now we're going to go to the NeoFPS starting scene. So NeoFPS hub. Go to Quick Start, go down to Scene Setup, and you can click on this Highlight Template Scene and it'll ping it over here in the project. We'll drag that in additively. Now this scene, we want everything except the environment at the bottom there. So we're just going to drag it into our scene. And then we're going to unload the feature scene and we're not going to save it. Now, NeoFPS will have set things up below this scene. If we actually highlight the spawner, you can see that it's down over here out the way. So let's bring it up. I'm holding Shift and Control. That'll snap it to the ground, and I'm bringing it up here. And I'm also going to turn it around so that when we spawn in, we can see the vehicles. Let's hit play now and see what happens. Okay, we're in. We've got NeoFPS in. We walk to a vehicle, but we can't interact. So what do we do about that? Well, this requires a little bit of a script. We'll go through the script in a moment, but first of all, I will show you it in action. The first thing that we need to do is highlight our simple spawner here, highlight our NeoFPS character, drag that as a copy of that into my prefabs folder. So I'm making a copy of it because I'm going to edit it and I don't want to change the one that comes with NeoFPS. It'll get overwritten if I upgrade NeoFPS. So drag that into here, and I'm also going to rename that to NWH NeoFPS. Okay, so if I go back to my simple spawner, you can see that I'm now using that one. So open up that prefab, scroll right down to the bottom here. You don't really need to scroll down, but I like to see it adding in. I'm going to go to my scripts here, drag that in. It has no setup that I need to do. If I hit play now, I can walk over to any vehicle I want, and I can hit V, and I can drive. All good. I can also get out the vehicle. I'm actually a bit stuck in there, but there we go. I can get out the vehicle and I can walk around. I can go to another vehicle and I can set off and drive fast. So what does that script actually do? Well, let's take a look at that. And here is our script. It's really simple. I've done it in the simplest possible way. There's a few optimizations you're going to want to do. Haven't even put it in a namespace. I just wanted to demonstrate it. So if you don't know scripting, you can just type it in as you see on the screen. I'll hold it on the screen long enough where you can hit pause. But if you know what you're doing, it's easy for you to reproduce. You're going to need 3 components to work with here. The first one is the character vehicle changer. This is an NWH physics controller. What it does is it decides when the character is going to get in or out of the vehicle. So we're going to need a reference to that. We're also going to need a reference to the first person camera, which is part of NeoFPS. And we're going to need a reference to the iNeo character controller, again, part of NeoFPS. Where do we get those? Well, I'm being a little bit lazy here. We could, of course, have them set up through the UI in the inspector, but I'm actually just looking them up. Now, the first one, I'm using find object because I don't know where it is. This is bad from a performance perspective. Don't do this in a production game. You can just about get away with it in a wake because it only happens once, but even so, you should never really use it there. It has to iterate through every single instance of an object in the scene until it finds the one you're looking for. So it's not ideal in any shape, especially in a large scene, but it'll do just fine for this. Then you've got your FPS camera. We know it's in the hierarchy here, and likewise the controller, we can do the same thing there. So what do we do with those once we have them? Well, let's scroll it down. We have our on enable here. And we're going to do 3 things in the on enable. The first thing we're going to do is on the character changer, that's the thing that comes with NWH, we're going to set the character object to this. And when I say this, I mean the game object that this component is attached to. Next up, we're going to tell the camera to look through, and we're going to make it true. Why do we do that? Well, when NWH physics enables the car camera, it disables any existing active camera. More precisely, it disables the player character as a whole, which disables the camera. And when it comes back, it doesn't automatically re-enable. So that's what we're doing here. The look through resets the FPS camera and gets it ready to go. The next thing is on the controller. NeoFPS doesn't know you've moved because another controller has moved your character. You've driven around in the car controller. What the teleport command does is say, hey, it doesn't matter where you think you are, you're actually here. When this component has been re-enabled by NWH physics, it does set the position to where the car is. So this is just saying to the controller, hey, you shouldn't be over there, you should be over here. And that's it. You're done. Once you've done that, you can enter any of these vehicles and drive them around just like you would with the any other player character. And I have to just jump in this guy and drive off into the sunset. Woohoo! Wow. Okay, that's quite a crash. All right, see you soon.